So when you're looking for a business and you're looking for a traditional business, one of the reasons why I don't advise for you to get into a traditional business at the minute, it's a no-go area. This is what I say. But even then, through experience, through understanding of how the model operates, I kind of got a gist of how the whole traditional business sector operates. Now, the thing is, like, it depends what you want to get out of a business, because 70 to 80% of the time you're gonna have to work in the business. No matter what, you're gonna work in the business. So, you know, if that's your kind of thing that you want to do when you get in business, then I say, yeah, go for it, because you're going to spend a lot of time in it, and there is profitability in it as well, depending on, you know, if you manage to build a brand in it. So going to branding, like, if you can build a brand, like for example on a clothing business, if you were doing retail, you're gonna have to build a brand, and by branding your product, then you can kind of scale it that way. However, then as soon as you start establishing the brand, you're going into a different league again. So again, branding falls under you might want to go direct to the consumer. Then you're gonna have retails, you're gonna have retail outlets and those things, but to get to market is so expensive. And like, I think that if you're branding a product in that category, in that range, it's so difficult to get the market, because it takes so time to brand, and it takes time to build awareness for customers as well, unless you're doing something like very, very luxurious and you get the market on your side pretty quick. So this is something which I think, again, like, if you were to go into the traditional business, and you know, the investment that's required is quite high, and one of the things I've found is you won't have any time, because for example, if you were doing a restaurant, you're gonna have to go out there and do your shopping. I mean, I understand there's way to get things delivered these days, but most restaurateurs, they, you know, when you go and see them, and if you look at my other YouTube videos, you can see I've spoken to a few restaurateurs, and you can see how they do their business and how they operate. And what they do is they prefer to go out and get their shopping, even though it takes more time. So I don't know why, but this is the way they tend to operate. Then you may even have staffing issues in this day and age. But like I said, even if you had a retail business, or even if you had like another shop, even if it's like a computer shop or something, you're still gonna have to have staff in there to manage the business, and that will take up a lot of your time. And if that's something that you're keen on, like, you know, being in the business and having you don't mind spending that time in there to make the money and doing the traditional graft, then, you know, find something and I'll help you do that, and we can look at the benefits of it as well. So now, some of the benefits of finding a traditional business is that you have cash flow straight away, and usually the business model has been proven already. One of the best ways, if you are thinking to get into a traditional business, I would advise highly to buy an existing model. Like, find a business that's already running. It's as soon as you go into a business that's not running, you know, you're gonna have to start everything from scratch, from the beginning. It gets more riskier. Now, what do I mean by more riskier? Because you're going into a new location, whether it's a shop, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's anything in that sector, you know, you're still taking so much risk on board, that because there's a not knowing factor. You don't know what's going to happen. So high risk, high reward again, but the amount of money you're putting in, and in this day and age with with the sort of climate we're in with the business, with the businesses, even established businesses are kind of having a shake-up. I wouldn't recommend anybody to put in a lot of money into a new establishment. So if you are thinking to go into the traditional business again, just find an existing business which you feel you can improve or you can add value to, and that way you're already buying into a cash flow, and you're buying into an existing client base as well. So you'll already have customers, you'll already have people that are spending money with you. You know that the turnover is X amount, and you have to do, like steps, and the turnover is X amount, and you have to take steps 1, 2, 3 to boost it to a certain level. So you can you can strategize the business and bring it to the level that you feel you want to take it to. So that's one thing. Another thing which is highly risky with these models, and people get tempted all the time, and I've seen so many businesses make this mistake. So the thing is, with the traditional businesses, the risks that and the temptation that people get. So they'll have one business or two businesses, and they'll think that they can go national, or they can start operating in multiple territories with the same business model. Now, just because you're doing really well in one area doesn't mean you're going to go open shop in another area and you're going to do exactly the same. So what happens is, and usually like with these types of businesses, the funding amount required, it's all self-funded. With the model, you're not going out there to find investors. You're going out there, you're self-funding. So what you're doing, you're going to the bank and you're borrowing money that way, or you're funding it yourself through the profits. So you're putting all the profits in. So this is the thing, like you're taking more risk. And the temptation, what I'm talking about is, you might have, let's say for example, a restaurant is doing good in one area. You go to, you think, okay, if I open another branch there and another branch there and another branch there, we're gonna kill the market, and that's how people think. And what happens is it's tempting, but then what happens is you realize you can't get the same amount of staff, you can't get the same quality of staff, you can't get the customers, the customer journey is totally different over there, one area to another area. You're not making the same profits, and you've just taken another risk, and the sometimes the expense is even more, it gets more. So because you've taken so much risk, right? Now you're in threat, because what's happened is you've taken on more liabilities, and if you're dealing with cash, then what happens is you've taken that risk on making a loss now, because if you can't make the turnover and you can't make the profit, then you're dipping into the profits from the other businesses, and that's what usually happens. And I've seen it over the years through some business people who have done this, and they've lost out loads of money, and they didn't realize the risk. And instead of diversifying their portfolio, like they've had one successful business, they could have gone into multiple other businesses, they could have looked for other opportunities, they didn't. Instead, that is called diversifying. So instead of diversifying their business portfolio, they just stuck to the same investment and the same game, in other words. So again, you shouldn't do that. If you manage to make one business a success, you've worked really hard for it. I mean, traditional businesses, to make it a success is very, very tough, because it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of, like, if you look around, most of the traditional businesses are run through family businesses as well, and there's a reason for that, because it's a family business for a reason, because it takes everybody to take part in those businesses and the running of the businesses. So there's like, if you start opening different branches and different parts of like, for example, there's a few grocery shops near my locality, and they have one in one area, they have another in another area, and they have another in another area. Now these are grocery shops. Now if you look at the people running it and managing it, they're all family. So it's either the brother's running it, or the uncle's running it, or somebody's running it, and it's good for them. For the family, it's good, it's brilliant. However, if they wanted to diversify now and go into other businesses, they can't now, because they're all stuck in managing these businesses. It's what if one of them leave to do something else, they can't. And maybe they don't need to. However, if you think and if you see the amount of time that they spend in these businesses, because they're working in the business at the same time, so it takes a lot of time as well. And at that level, it's okay, because you've managed to build it to a good standard and a stable establishment. So yes, you can, but in terms of long-term ownership, long-term commitments, you need to think in every angle. And if you're starting from scratch, I wouldn't advise you to go into something like this, because the world is changing, and unless you're looking to if you've got a big family or something that can support you and that can help you with running it, and you feel that they can be trained in it and have enough competence to run the establishments, then, and you need a lot of capital behind you as well. So if you've got access to a lot of capital, or you can get hold of a lot of capital, then by all means go ahead with it. But I don't recommend anybody, it's not my preferred method of doing trade at the minute. So that's the reasons why. And if you still feel that you want to do a traditional business and you want to go ahead, I'll still help you with this, and we can discuss it in the one-to-one sessions, or we can look at other business models.